Check this out, BCM Raider here, bringing you another Commander deck tech, and today we are looking at Tymna and Tymna. These are our 4-color partner commanders, and our main goal with this build is a infinite creature combo deck. And we're going to do everything in our power to get that combo assembled no matter what. We are primarily focused on protecting everything we're doing from specifically the color blue, because blue control decks or EDH level decks are primarily blue, and we need a way to deal with that. But we're going to use the combination of Tymna the Bloodsower and Tymna the Weaver to generate as much value as possible. Tymna the Bloodsower herself, whenever she deals combat damage, we get to create that many 1/1 saprolings. We're going to use all these creature tokens to deal damage, draw cards, fun stuff like that. And with Tymna the Weaver, every single post-combat main phase, we can pay X life, where X is the number of opponents that were dealt combat damage that turn, and we get to draw X cards. So not only are we going to be dealing damage, we're going to be drawing lots of cards. That way we can win the game as fast as possible. So let's get right into this. First up is our creature combo that the entire deck is based around. And it's based around the good old Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker Infinite combo. Kiki Jiki has an activated ability where we're going to put a token copy of a non-legendary creature we control, and that token will gain haste. So we're going to pair it with Felidar Guardian. When Felidar Guardian enters the battlefield, we get to exile another target permanent we control and return that back to the battlefield. Because we're going to make a copy token of Felidar Guardian, we're going to blink out Kiki Jiki, and we're going to repeat this 1,000,000 times. And all of those tokens entering the battlefield will be dealing damage, or we just simply swing out and kill all our opponents in one shot. Now we have the creatures that we're going to use to go and get this combo no matter what, whether it be in our library or from our graveyard. So we have Academy Rector. When Academy Rector is put into a graveyard, we can exile it and then search our library for a enchantment card and put it onto the battlefield. This is going to come in very handy with the certain enchantments that we need. Next we have Arena Rector. Similar to Academy Rector, when this is put into a graveyard, we exile it, but we search for a specific Planeswalker card. We're only running one Planeswalker, which I'll get to in just a moment. Next we have Fiend Artisan. He'll get +1/+1 for each creature card in our graveyard, and has an activated ability where we pay a black or a green and then X. Then we sacrifice another creature. Then we can search our library for any creature card with that mana cost, X or less, and it's put onto the battlefield. Next, we have Body Snatcher. When this enters the battlefield, we have to exile it unless we discard a creature card. Most likely, we're going to discard a combo piece. That way we can return it later. And when Body Snatcher is put into a graveyard, we can return any creature from our graveyard back to the battlefield. Next, we have Protean Hulk. When Protean Hulk is put into a graveyard, we can search our library for any number of creature cards with total mana cost of 6. So when we sacrifice off Protean Hulk, we're going to be able to go search for as many of these combo pieces as possible. We have some mana dorks. So we have Delighted Halfling. Delighted Halfling is probably the strongest mana dork because it'll produce any color, and if that mana was spent on a legendary spell, that legendary spell can't be countered. And because Kiki Jiki is legendary, he won't be countered, and chances are we're probably going to win the game on the spot. Of course, we have Birds of Paradise. This will activate and add 1 mana of any color. That's also a good flying blocker. You can lightning bolt it if you really need to. Now we have Ignoble Hierarch. This is exalted, so whenever any creature attacks alone, it'll get +1/+1. But he's pretty much here just to tap for 3 specific colors that we need. Now we have Avacyn's Pilgrim. He'll produce a white mana for us. Now we have Elvish Spirit Guide. we can exile Elvish Spare Guide from our hand to add 1 green mana. Now we have some synergy creatures that are going to work really well with Tymna and Tymna to provide as much value as possible. So we have Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff. Whenever any player casts their second spell each turn, we lose a life and create a treasure token. Now we have Loyal Apprentice. This is going to work very well with our commanders as well, because at the beginning of combat on our turn, if we control our commander, we create a 1/1 colorless Thopter with flying and haste. Now we have some creatures that are going to help us sacrifice creatures for as much value as possible. So we have Viscera Seer. We're going to sacrifice a creature to scry 1. This is going to help us put creatures into our graveyard and dig down to find the combo piece that we really need. Now we have Cannon Feeder. We can just sacrifice a bunch of creatures to this and make this a very large creature. Now we have Greater Gargadon. This has Suspend 10 for 1 red mana. So we're going to exile this from our hand with 10 time counters on it. But we can sacrifice an artifact, a creature, or land to remove time counters. And once the last time counter is removed, we get a 9/7, which is a pretty large creature. Now we have Ranger Captain of Eos. When this enters the battlefield, we can search our library for any creature card with mana cost 1 or less. We can sacrifice Ranger Captain of Eos, and our opponents can't cast non-creature spells this turn. Now we have Karmic Guide. Karmic Guide is only here to return combo pieces from our graveyard back to the battlefield. Now we have a whole bunch of creatures that are going to really disrupt our opponents from interacting with us. That way we can win the game on the spot. So we have Allosaurus Shepherd. Allosaurus Shepherd can't be countered itself, and green spells can't be countered. She also has an activated ability where each elf creature we control will have base toughness of 5 and become a dinosaur in addition to its other types. Now we have Esper Sentinel. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, we get to draw a card where X is Esper Sentinel's power. Most of the time this will be 1, but it's still a good way to disrupt our opponents. Now we have Deathrite Shaman. We're going to exile cards from graveyards, and depending on what those cards are, we get different abilities. If it's a land, we can produce a mana of any color, or if it's an instant or sorcery, each opponent will lose 2 life, and if it's a creature card, we get to gain 2 life. Now we have Drannith Magistrate. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hand. Drannith Magistrate in Commander single-handedly locks out our opponents from casting their commanders. Now, to take it one step further, we have Dauthi Voidwalker. If any card would be put into a opponent's graveyard from anywhere, it gets exiled with a void counter, and we can sacrifice Dauthi Voidwalker, and we can play any of those cards that had void counters on them. Now we have Orcish Bowmasters. We're going to use Bowmasters to punish our opponents for drawing additional cards. Whenever a opponent draws a additional card, we're going to deal 1 damage to any target, and then amass Orcs 1. Now we have Collector Oof. This is going to prevent all activated abilities of artifacts to be activated. Now we have Archivist of Agma. If our opponents like searching, whenever they search, we get to gain a life and draw a card. This also has Flash, so we can cast this as an instant. Now we have my personal favorite with Grand Abolisher. During our turn, our opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. This is going to help prevent our opponents from interacting with us on our turn when we go to combo off and win the game. Now we have Dauntless Dismantler. Artifacts our opponents control will enter the battlefield tapped, which is pretty brutal. But he has an activated ability where we can pay 1 white and double X and sacrifice Dauntless Dismantler, and when we did, we get to destroy each artifact with mana value of X. Now we have Archon of Emeria. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn, and non-basic lands our opponents control will enter the battlefield tapped. This is going to lock down our opponents from casting multiple spells in one turn and really slow them down with their land base. Now we have Kutzil, Element Exemplar. Our opponents can't cast spells during our turn, similar to Grand Abolisher, and whenever one or more creatures we control with power greater than its base power deal combat damage to a player, we get to draw a card. Now we have Endurance. It has an alternate casting cost with its evoke cost, so it'll enter the battlefield and then be sacrificed, but we don't have to pay its mana cost. We can just exile a green card from our hand. This also has Flash, so we can cast it as an instant, but it can block flyers because of the reach. More importantly, when Endurance enters the battlefield, we get to choose target player and put all the cards from their graveyard on the bottom of their library. We can use this to protect our graveyard or use it against our opponents. That way, if they try to flashback certain spells or reanimate creatures. Now we have Opposition Agent. Since our opponents really like searching, we get to control our opponents while they're searching their library. And while a opponent is searching their library, we get to exile each card that they search for, and then we can play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. Now we have a fun one. We have Mayhem Devil. Whenever any player sacrifices a permanent, we get to deal 1 damage to any target. We're the ones that are primarily going to be doing the sacrificing, and we can just throw around damage whenever we want. We do have one Planeswalker that's really going to help us out. So we have Vivian on the Hunt. She's going to enter with 4 loyalty counters on her, and we're going to +2 her. We're going to sacrifice a creature, and then if we did, we're going to search our library for a creature card with mana value equal to 1+ the sacrificed creature's mana value, and put it onto the battlefield. This is almost like a birthing pod effect, or we can +1 her to mill 5 cards, and then put any number of creature cards milled this way into our hand. Or, if we really need to, we can -1 her and create a 4/4 Rhino. Let's get into the artifacts. We only have 5 artifacts, and most of these are going to be very fast mana. That way we can cast our spells as fast as possible. So, we have Soul Ring, we have Lotus Petal, we have Chrome Mox, and we have Mana Vault. Now we have the namesake Birthing Pod. We're going to use Birthing Pod to sacrifice a creature and then search our library for a creature card with mana value 1+ the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Okay, let's get into the enchantments. First up is Pattern of Rebirth. We're going to use this enchantment to search our library for a very specific creature. That way we can go get Kiki Jiki the Mirror Breaker if we really need to and win the game on the spot. We're going to actually use Academy Rector to sacrifice itself to go search for Pattern of Rebirth. That way we can go tutor for all these combo pieces. Now we have Carpet of Flowers. This is really going to hedge against the blue players because we're going to choose a main phase and we're going to add mana of any color where X is the number of islands that player controls. Now we have Deafening Silence. Each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn. This is really going to slow down our opponents from casting multiple spells, and because our win condition is creature based, it's really not going to affect us at all. Now we have Goblin Bombardment. We're going to sacrifice a creature to deal 1 damage to any target. Now we have Sylvan Library. This will allow us to pay life and draw additional cards every single draw phase. Now we have Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This is a very powerful saga. Chapter 1, we're going to create a 2/2 red Goblin Shaman, where whenever that token attacks, we create a treasure token. Chapter 2, we can discard up to 2 cards and then draw that many. And then Chapter 3, we transform it, and it'll transform into Reflection of Kiki Jiki. This is just another Kiki-Jiki aspect. That way we have another aspect of the Kiki-Jiki combo of creating infinite tokens. Okay, let's get into the instants. Most of these instants are going to be tutor effects or ways to interact with our opponents to protect us. That way we can combo off as fast as possible. So we have Empiric Tutor. We're going to search our library for any card, put that card on top, and we lose 2 life. Now we have a Lightning Tutor to go get any artifact or enchantment. Most of the time this is going to go get either Pattern of Rebirth or Birthing Pod. Now we have Worldly Tutor. We're going to search our library for any creature card and put it on top. Most of the time this is going to go get Kiki-Jiki. Similar to that, we have Aladmiri's Call. We're going to search our library for any creature card, and that card goes into our hand. Now, all the protection spells or removal spells. So we have Veil of Summer. We get to draw a card if an opponent casts a blue or black spell that turn. Spells we control cannot be countered that turn. And us and permanents we control get hexproof from blue and black until the end of turn. This is really going to help us against our opponents for when we're going to combo off, so we can protect that combo. Another one is Silence. Our opponents can't cast spells that turn. We're going to primarily cast this during our opponent's upkeep. That way they basically don't get a turn. Now we have some removal, so we have Swords of the Plowshares. We're not running Pata Exile because we don't want to give our opponents a land. We don't care about their life total too much because we're just going to infinitely deal damage to them. Now we have Force of Vigor. That way we can destroy up to 2 target artifacts or enchantments. This does have an alternate casting cost where we can exile a green card from our hand rather than pay its mana cost. Now we have Deadly Rollick. We're going to exile target creature, and we can cast this without paying its mana cost if we control a commander. Now we have Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay cannot be countered, and we get to destroy target non-land permanent with mana cost 3 or less. Now we have Assassin's Trophy. We get to destroy any permanent a opponent controls, and then they search for a basic land. We get to destroy a permanent they control. That way we can really control everything our opponent is doing and deny them resources. Now we have Red Elemental Blast. We get to counter a blue spell or destroy a blue permanent. Similar to that, we have Pyroblast. These are the same cards. And of course, we have Deflecting Swat. We can choose new targets for the target of a spell or a ability, and we can cast it without paying its mana cost if we control a commander. Let's get into the sorceries. Most of these are just tutor effects to go get our combo. So we have Imperial Seal. We get to search our library for any card and put that card on top, and we lose 2 life. Of course, we have Demonic Tutor. We get to go search for any card and put it into our hand. Now we have Diabolic Intent. This is Demonic Tutor with a additional casting cost of sacrificing a creature. And because of the strategy that we're doing by returning things back from our graveyard, sacrificing a creature isn't that big of a deal. Now we have another kind of Birthing Pod effect with Eldritch Evolution. As an additional cost of casting Eldritch Evolution, we sacrifice a creature. But we can search our library for any creature card with converted mana cost X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Then we exile Eldritch Evolution. Now a personal favorite of mine is Natural Order. As an additional cost, we sacrifice a green creature, and we search our library for any green creature and put it onto the battlefield. More times than not, we're going to sacrifice off a smaller green creature like Birds of Paradise. We're going to go search for Protean Hulk. Now we have Finale of Devastation. This one is probably the most powerful tutor effect that we have. We're going to search our library and or graveyard for a creature card with mana cost X or less and put it onto the battlefield. But if X was 10 or greater, creatures we control will get +X/+X and gain haste. Okay, let's get into the land base. This is a very streamlined land base. So we have Marsh Flats, Arid Mesa, Verdant Catacombs, Bloodstained Mire, Windswept Heath, and Wooded Foothills. Now we need the lands to go get. So we have Sacred Foundry, Blood Crypt, Overgrown Tomb, Godless Shrine, Temple Garden, and Stomping Grounds. Now we have the check lands. We have Isolated Chapel, Dragon Skull Summit, Clifftop Retreat, Rootbound Crag, Woodland Cemetery, Sunpetal Grove. Now we have some very powerful colorless lands. So we have Ancient Tomb. This will provide 2 colorless mana and will take 2 damage. Now we have Gemstone Caverns. This will tap for a colorless mana normally, but if it's in our opening hand, we can reveal Gemstone Caverns with a luck counter on it, and we can add 1 mana of any color if it had this luck counter on it. We have 3 swamps, 3 forests, 3 mountains, and 3 plains. My only criticism with this land base is I think we can actually include the new verges and go down 1 of each basic, because the verges will provide the colors that we really need without any kind of drawback really. And that was the Commander deck tech for Tana and Tymna. I really hope you guys enjoyed this 4-color all-in combo build. This deck is very powerful. It is kind of pricey, almost borderline C EDH, but for those of you who enjoy very fast-paced combo type builds, let me know in the comments below if you guys have any suggestions on how to speed this deck up even more, or if you feel this is a very solid build, let me know. I'll leave the link to the Moxfield deck list in the comments below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share these videos, and I will see you guys in the next one.